everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to our session. My name is Firza. I'm from Brand Geeks Inc. With me today, I have two amazing gentlemen here. Silmi
Okay.
from Silmi from Brand Geeks Inc. and
Hello.
Faris from and also Faris from ADT.
Hey, Faris.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Hi.
Uh, okay. So for today, I will moderating this session. The topic is how to balance creative and tech. Let's start from the first question. Okay, from sorry. Last year, we still have COVID, right? So everything start from some form of more real interaction with people, right? Uh, do you guys think that VR and something like VR or AR can certain help? After the COVID session, the COVID era.
Right. First of all, thank you very much for this opportunity. COVID happens and it kind of like changed a lot of things that are happening within the business. A lot of projects got cancelled. I think 70% of our clientele is based on events, so that everything got wiped off. And so we basically have to really relook into the whole idea of getting yourself to survive that particular period. So it wasn't easy. And good thing, I think the plus point of our businesses that we are digital. So that is definitely a benefit of being in that space. So we have the opportunity to actually sit down and gather around amongst the team to rethink how we would reposition our company and how we can reposition our services and looking at the clients that we have and how we can not only help us but also help the client as well, because everyone's trying to survive, including our clients. So if they make money, we will make money as well. So we need to work together. So basically AR and VR is still very much our baseline expertise, I would say. And how I would sum up the whole experience is that the sales on that part, the virtual part of things, actually bloomed during COVID. So it was really beneficial for us and our clients that we jumped into this space. And we come up with new services, and we quickly test it out, and we quickly try to market it and sell it to our clients, and finally we got through the storm. So yeah, Alhamdulillah.
I'm going to jump in, Faris. Hi, man. It's awesome to have you on board. Our very first ever Sembang Kreatif.
Thank you.
When we were mooting the idea of doing this with the team, your name popped up because you're the most creative dude that I know. Some of our friends are gonna scream bloody murder. But Faris, with all your work all this while. But I do know you from a previous incarnation from another life. So maybe for the benefit of our audiences and the rest of the Brand Geeks team, could you just share with us a little bit of how you got started into? I know you're doing AR VR right now, but how did you start your creative career, and how did it transition to what you're doing right now?
Right. I wouldn't say I started my creative career at some point in my life. The whole idea of what I face is basically, it's very organic. To be honest, I didn't plan out so much. I started
as a
drawing
true creative,
a lot of sketches.
As a true creative lah, nothing was planned.
As a true creative, is it?
Yeah.
Don't plan so much. But I love drawing during my school times. My parents see my interest in actually doing a lot of doodles. So my dad brought me home a lot of pencil and stationeries and A4 papers from office. So basically,
I
I
guess
got
to
myself
stop you
acquainted with
from
that,
drawing on the wall lah. To stop you from drawing on the wall lah.
Exactly. And I would say I was quite lucky as well that my dad is also really into all this computer stuff. So I got my first computer. I wouldn't say it was for me lah. It was for the family lah. It was a Macintosh Apple 1984, the famous one that Steve Jobs brought from the back. So my dad invested into that. So basically my whole family was into it. I played around with, back then was Mac Paint. I think Mac Paint. It was this brush tool that you draw on the screen. And then you start drawing stuff digitally. And then, basically the whole thing grew from there. And I got into MMU, doing animation, and then I graduated. And straight, I worked for a while lah. I worked with a post-production house for a while just to gain exposure and experience on how things work. And then I started opening up my own, I would say, motion design studio called Motion Fixo back then. And then we start doing a lot of motion graphic works for advertising. So we dealt with a lot of agencies doing TV commercials, digital commercials, and a lot of social media stuff. Yeah, so basically that's how I started. I'm basically a motion designer. I started off going into this industry as a motion designer, heavily influenced by my brother-in-law as well, because he was sort of like the OG graphic designer during the early 2000s. So I got inspired by him.
Okay.
And my brother's background into programming language. So that kind of like I have that like sort of like balance between art and tech. I've been exposed with this within the family, and with my dad being my investor in buying all these gadgetries. So that's how I basically start off with everything that you see here. Yeah.
Cool.
Are you alright, Fiza?
Yeah, I'm okay. This is the first time.
Chill. Yeah. All is good. All is good.
Yeah. I think she's just super inspired by what you just shared just now. So I'm like gobsmacked, man. Having a Mac in the house as a kid is just brilliant. Yep. All right. Fiza, what's next?
Okay. Basically, actually, my question is like related to the sorry. Sorry. Okay.
It's live. Just carry on, dude. Just carry on. Yeah.
What's the next question?
Okay. Sorry.
No worries. Take your time.
Okay. Sorry. In Maldives actually. I remember that you mentioned from the TC Live last year. You are a speaker, right? So you mentioned about your project that you do for about a VR AR project. Like you mentioned about a virtual influencer. Do you have any update on that project?
Right. Yeah. So we have progressed quite a lot from last year. So we had worked with Astro to produce one of the influencers. Can't share that yet. But basically what we built is that it's sort of like a tool where if you are a brand or if you are any organization that relies on a mascot or a 3D character to communicate about your ideas, we just built a tool for you to actually use that very tool to produce daily updates on your social media, with that influencer without sending the character to an animation house to animate, right? So what we did was
like motion capture or what?
Yeah, motion capture or something wrong with my it is motion capture. So all you need is your phone, and it reads your face, and then basically it maps your facial movement expressions to this 3D character. So we built that for you. We built that system for you, and we basically have that set up in your place, so you can produce your own. You can become your own avatar and do live streams like this.
It's like what?
I had a thought to appear as an avatar today.
Why not? Let's give it a try.
No.
No. But Fiza, you're using this, right? For our Zoom competitions, right? Zoom background competitions.
Yeah.
So
Zoom
it's very similar, lah. It's like what Zoom has, where you can switch to an avatar.
The animal avatar.
Yeah, and it matches your facial expressions and all that. Am I right, Fariz?
Basically it's about the same thing, but the services that we provide is that you can use your character. Either we help you build your own character, or if you already have an existing mascot, so we build that in 3D, or we use your 3D assets and we rigged it up for you, and then we set it up in your place. So basically you can use it on a daily basis to produce all these things without going to the animation house.
Is it still under embargo? When are we going to be able to see this?
This is actually the first time I'm announcing on the mainstream media. Exclusive. So we're going to do a demo day with our clients. We don't have a date yet, but we're planning to have it mid next month. So you guys are invited to be with that session.
Awesome.
So basically what that session would be is to introduce you with the whole tool, how you're going to use it, and if you already have a 3D character, how if you have it or you don't have it, what's the process like? And we will present you the best practices on how to manage a visual influencer. And basically it's sort of like it's an onboarding session for everyone. So that's happening next month. Yeah.
So it's like a custom avatar for everyone.
Custom avatar, yeah. So the off-the-shelf solution that you see today, basically it's already pre-made with existing avatars, and you need to choose an eyebrow that matches your eyebrow. If you don't see your eyebrow there, so you can't do much, right? So what we want to do is basically custom made everything. This is like a bespoke service for the client. So we develop that character for you, we build that character for you, and we install it on your system. So your internal creative team or internal social media team can actually use it for your production. Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps, man. This sounds super awesome.
Oh, really?
So what is your expectation for this solution of yours? I mean, how are we going to get to see more of these custom avatars that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think it is in line with the whole idea of currently people are getting used to having their own avatars. So brands and organizations starting to see the importance of having avatars as a solution to, I wouldn't say to replace influencers, but more on a complementary side. So you have more options to actually have full control on these digital characters. With the whole thing with metaverse and all that, so you will also have like digital apparel going on. So you have like digital fashion. So this whole thing can be applied to this avatar. So that's another sort of like another industry and another field by itself. So it's the awareness is increasing every now and then, and we will see this character become much more important as we do more platforms, digital platforms. So we're basically spending more time on digital platforms. So you're spending your time on live streams. You're spending more time on like metaverse, like games, right? So you'll be looking yourself as your avatar. You want to be represented as an avatar. So these brands can actually use this avatar to be present in these spaces as well. So this is another angle that we're looking at to provide that service to brands to be able to bring their brand into this metaverse space where people are flocking into. So yeah, we provide that solution as well, and consultancy services. So the whole A to Z experience for the clients will have them handhold them into this space. Yeah.
Right. Sorry, Susan. I know you got another question coming.
Yeah.
Your face, I know, but I'm going to push out a little bit more about this virtual influencer thing. So, can I put you on the spot, Fariz, and say, I have to ask permission first. Can I put you on the spot? You're already on the spot, but can I put you on the spot and ask, are we gonna get to have a preview or a sneak peek during Turbocharge.Live 2022 of this virtual avatar, virtual influencer?
Right. Yeah. When's that happening? It's October, right?
Yeah. Behind Fiza, you can see the date.
Yeah. So
7 to 8 October.
Yeah. So I think we should have something to present during October. I think we should be able to have a character. We're planning a few characters down the line at the moment. Our own character, and these characters will have their own Instagram, their own TikToks, and they will be basically characters that as if they're a real person lah, right? They go to work, they go home, they have friends, and they also will open up for product reviews if you want to.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I think by October probably you will probably see a few of these characters popping up on your social media. Yeah.
All right. Yes. Nervous asking sebab suddenly kan cannot lah kan, but definitely. So we're announcing to the world. Yes, the Turbocharge.Live will be 2022. Will have our virtual influencers making an appearance. Yeah. Cool.
Appearance, yeah. Probably one slot you can let her talk. One of the spaces. I don't know. Yeah, we can talk about that.
Let's talk about the details kejap lagi. But thank you so much, Fariz. That sounds awesome. Okay, back to you, Fiza. Sorry.
Okay. So about the AR VR, like this is like still a new thing in let's say Malaysia, right? So do you have any like technical challenge or limitation in producing this AR VR, compared to the traditional form of it?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of challenges in producing this. I would say the usage of the medium is still binded by the hardware itself, especially in VR. So there's barrier in getting people to onboard, having people to put up a device on their face, right? So that unless that can be done easily, then the content itself will be useless. So I think in terms of the challenges on the client side is more of awareness and onboarding. If the client understands the benefits of having that as a solution that would make things faster or cheaper, making things safer for them. Like, if you want to do virtual training, instead of sending out people to very dangerous places, so you can actually simulate that in a VR environment first before actually, sending them out in the fields. So they will definitely see that safety issue as a plus point, and also cost effectiveness. You don't want to send hundreds of people out in the fields. Whether you want these 100 people to be in a safe space and try it on and do the training as per. And depending on the industry as well. I mean, VR is a vehicle. It can go anywhere you want it to go. So the purpose of that content is also very vast. So when you talk about VR, then there's need to be a specific niche to it as well. And in the future, I would say there will be VR content creators that is niche, very focusing more on engineering, oil and gas side, and then you have one on the medical side, more on the therapy side, and then you have one on the sports science, or on short films and films. So you have this different niche, and the way you execute the content is also different. The way the pre-production process will be different as well. How are you going to tell that story? How do you want the users to experience it? each of these different field has this different sort of like discipline to it, lah.
So can I ask?
But right now,
Yeah, so sorry to jump in. Can I just ask then, because today is about Sembang Kreatif, but you just kind of slid in a few applications of AR, VR where it's not super creative in that sense. It needs creativity to come up with those engineering worlds, etc., medical worlds, but it's not creative per se lah. So is that something that you see a tension there, where is creative where the money is, or is it just something to get people interested, but then the real money is in the other applications that you mentioned, in the other industries that you mentioned?
Yeah, I would say in VR especially, the investment still is on the enterprise side of things, based on the global data at the moment. But I would say the creative part of things is still basically on the whole design and the UI UX. Definitely, it is something important in the whole pipeline. You won't rule that out, lah. But
because gaming is
if
big,
you're
right?
looking at like
game development,
game development is really big. And I think there's a lot of game studios here in Malaysia as well, doing a lot of things. But in terms of VR, I'm sorry, but I'm not so sure whether I know much VR studios here in Malaysia that does for gaming. But yeah, I would say that's a big potential in gaming, and even
isn't it
last year
a bit of a natural progression? Sorry to talk over you. Isn't it a bit of a natural progression from game development to VR games?
I wouldn't say it's a natural. I would say the skill set have some overlaps, because the software that you use to create games, you in VR you also use the same things as well, like Unity and Unreal Engine. You still use the same authoring tool, I would say. But definitely the user experience is very much different. The use case, the UI, and the whole storyboarding and how you design the game. You cannot just deport an existing game and turn it into VR. There's a lot of things in between that you need to think about. So it can be natural. I would say I wouldn't say the word natural, but more of like it's quicker to deport. Maybe if you've been doing a lot of games and then suddenly you want to do VR, I would say you have the fast track. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned about the whole overall process of creating this AR. So do you have any do you need to something sorry, my point is like do you have any challenges in like educate your designers to do this AR VR?
So for us,
this is a new thing, right?
The way we recruit our team is that they would need to have basic game design knowledge. So I would look into game design students, game developers who studies Unity or Unreal Engine at school, and then deporting them into AR VR will be quite, again, it's a fast track lah. But if you look at MMU, I think they actually they do have a VR graduate, so they're very much accustomed by VR and the controls of the VR. So they actually study and learn how to create games and experiences in VR. So yeah, hopefully we can see a lot more colleges jump into it, and yeah, more talents for the industry.
How's the talent pipeline? Since I'm sure you're pretty invested in making sure there's enough talent coming through, not just from your alma mater, but generally from the industry. Do we have a good pipeline?
So far, I think it can be more, but again, it all depends on the industry itself. I wouldn't say VR is a sexy industry at the moment. I've seen a lot of people who graduate as VR but end up doing games that's not VR because they have the almost the same skill set. So again, so it's something that on the industry side, we still need to actually create that market and create that use case. But it is coming along really well with the interest of the hype of metaverse that happens last year. So I think that kind of like accelerate the whole interest into it, and the money that comes into the metaverse space is also something that probably is disposable for companies to actually start a new startup that focuses on this. So we provide more jobs for these graduates that does all these things. But yeah, so it is a work in progress. I wouldn't say we're there yet, but I mean, year on year, there's always new talents coming in, producing new cool stuff. And the good thing also is that you start to see a lot of independent game developers. A solo developer. You have resources on YouTube, so you can do like basic stuff. You can do tutorials. So it's pretty much, if you want it, you can actually do it. There's nothing to to actually stop you from actually doing it and making things happen. Yeah.
Cool, Bang Fariz. Cool. Thanks for the comment, Mazuki. Thanks for the support. Hey, you mentioned the metaverse. Again, I know Fiza has tons of questions, but I keep jumping in. You mentioned the metaverse. What's your take on it? Is it hype? Is it something that we should take note of, or is it just something that Mark Zuckerberg shot sendiri, or what?
I would say yes to all of it because everyone is still figuring out what it is. It's an animal that is ever evolving. At one point, you see something that is making sense. People do things. That makes sense. And then the week after, then actually, yeah. So it's something that is always evolving. But to me, I still believe in the idea because it's such a natural progression from us being socializing in real world. And we've seen people getting into Instagram and Facebook. We start to socialize on the social media, and you start to have friends that you only see in social media, right?
Yeah.
So, and when you see our niece and nephews or our children playing Roblox, I would say that is the generation that would say metaverse is the sort of like a second nature already lah. They start to can't distinguish what's real and what's not. To them, Roblox is real, right? So
I grew up with I'm a bit older than both of you. I grew up. My first game was Dig Dug. It was a 2D game. Essentially, you just go around and try and dig, and then whatever.
3D platformer lah.
That was so embarrassing to say. But you are saying that now kids are growing up with the metaverse, Roblox and Minecraft, etc. So hence what I'm hearing from you is that expect this to be really big. It's just that now we're still figuring it out. The adults are still figuring out, but the kids are already there lah.
Yeah. To them, because to them they're already socializing in Roblox. They're already interacting with the other kids in Roblox. They already buy and sell stuff. They trade stuff. It's sort of the things that we do in real life, but they're doing it virtually, and to them it's very much natural. So this generation will grow older, and they start to have different appeals to certain brands and all that. So that this is some of the things that we really want to look into on how to onboard these brands that we have on the physical world into this space, where later on when they will be the new audiences, right? So you're investing in your future for the next 5-10 years. These kids will be your audience. So they are all digital. They're all metaverse. So we need to start now. So we need to start figuring out now. So that's what we're doing at the moment.
Before Fiza asks her next question, let me just add on a little bit to this one. So how close are we in Malaysia, maybe the region, Indonesia, Singapore, etc. How close are we compared to the rest of the world? How far? Okay, I don't want to sound negative, but what in my mind is how far behind are we, or how close are we to the people pushing the boundaries?
I would say we're which everyone's in the same playing field at the moment. There's a lot of projects. If you're talking about metaverse and NFTs, there's a lot of interesting project that comes from this part of the world actually. And we're much more active. We're much more. I would say we're much more. The acceptance is much more faster here at this side of the world compared to the Western world.
On the demand side, demand or supply?
On the demand side as well. I mean, there's a lot of NFT project, the cool NFT project that comes from this part of the world that actually shows them, and the demand comes from globally, right? If I'm not mistaken, Axie Infinity, I think that's one of the good examples of, you know, supply and demand is really high in this part of the world. People are starting to play that play to earn game, and it's number one in the Philippines, right? So
share a little bit to us noobs here. Share a little bit about this project. Yeah,
it's called Axie Infinity. I think it started. I think it's a Vietnamese company, if I'm not mistaken. Please, anyone, please in the chat box, correct me if I'm wrong. But it comes from this part of the world, and the player numbers is the highest in Philippines. And the reward that you're getting from playing this game is sort of like, in the Philippines, you can actually live off playing the game. So there's a lot of people starting to, you know, berhenti kerja and start playing this full time. So that happened during the, of course, professional Axie Infinity gamer lah.
Is it like a metaverse kind of game? Is it a metaverse kind of game?
It's still a 2D platform game. We call it 2D. It's still metaverse, I mean 2D metaverse. So you play this game and you earn coins as you beat other players, and you get more rewards. I'm not a player. I don't know the details, but basically people are living off playing these games.
Well, you know more than me, man.
And you start to see an ecosystem there. Yeah, you start to see a whole ecosystem. Players that is good, getting scholarships, you know, in the form of crypto. To actually, they groom these players, and it's sort of like it's a convergence of esports as well. Like basically, it's also esports. So you start applying the same model in esports into this, and then it snowballs into a bigger thing, lah. So so that happens this part of the world. So I wouldn't say the Western and Eastern are different. Right now, everyone's at the same playing field, because it's to get into this decentralized world. All you need is yourself and your know-how to actually start off with things. So you're not relying on like a bigger ecosystem to start things. I'm not saying it's scalable or not, but if you want to go into it, basically, if you know where to find things, you can actually build a lot of these things yourself. So you can be in anywhere in the world, and you can start your own NFT project. You can start your own online game that you later on turn it into this sort of Web3 and link it with your NFT projects. So all of these things you can start from anywhere. You're not geographically limited anymore.
Okay, nice.
So, okay, this is my question, right?
Yes, that's the next question.
No, you mean so you just explain about how things are developed in worldwide, right? So, if we back to Malaysia, like, do you usually, if you have a client, do you need to educate them, or they already knew about it and then they come to you, or or you need to educate them first? Like, is it like
So for our business, awareness is always the first thing that you need to do. I will put that as a part of process of selling the idea, it's because when a client jumps in, not all would see our service as something like creating a video or creating a website, right? So if you do a video or website, they will already know the pipelines, right? So when you say the quotation, they know what the itemized stuff already. So when we send our quotation, there's a lot of jargons and a lot of things that they might not understand. Why am I paying this for? right? So there has to be a session where we need to really sit down to a potential or the client itself and have this sort of like onboarding session lah. So the best way to do it is to bring this VR headset and this AR sample, sit in front of them, try it out yourself, see it from your own phone, see it from your own headset. So that is the best way to actually show them, because VR, especially VR or AR, if you were to send in videos, it wouldn't tell the full story. You have to experience it firsthand, holding the device in your hands. Yeah.
Can I just I don't, Kufiza mentioned just now about the education process and whether you are looking for them or they look for you. So how has it been when it comes to EDT? Has your brand garnered sufficient traction or of a reputation where people are looking for you rather than you looking for clients?
I would say it's kind of like 50-50 lah.
Okay.
But to be honest, on our I would say, because in our team we're only 12 of us, so most of the marketing and the awareness thing is done by me and my 3 other colleagues. But most of them that came to us probably have some sort of basic awareness on what the benefits of the stuff that we do. But for clients that don't know much, it's really hard for us to actually knock on doors to say that, hey, I have this VR idea and AR idea. It is quite challenging. It's not as essential as a website or a logo design, right? Those are like a must-have.
Oh yeah, you're telling me we have challenges convincing people that one also.
Yeah. I've been there as well. So yeah. So looking at VR and AR, sometimes it's a good to have thing. It's not essential. So for clients that see it as a good to have, it's a bit harder to convince them because they need to look into the ROIs. So if I spend a certain number of ringgits, how do I calculate the ROI, right? So if it's a good to have, probably, okay, I put it on the sides first, I'll work on the essentials. But if you can position your AR and VR stuff to be sort of like the things that I mentioned, it will make your work faster, it will make your process easier and cheaper by having this VR set, then it's much more easier to convince them. At the end of the day, it's a business. Our clients are also is a business, so we need to make sure the ROI is there. Yeah.
There's a question from Manisa. Fiza, do you want to read it out?
Yeah. Manisa asks, how are the requirements of B2B and B2C brands for AR and VR different?
I would say
have a drink first.
Yeah, it's okay. Done. I would say B2B. I would say more on the enterprise level. So you're talking about virtual VR training, or we last time we did VR content for medical rehabilitation. Nice. So those are enterprise level content where we sell to institutions to actually use, right? And in terms of enterprise, I would say the usage is much more longer. So you're looking at 12 months, 24 months kind of duration of a project. In comparison to B2C, usually it will be pegged to a campaign period, where usually it will last during that campaign period. And when you look into this periods that is much more shorter, means usually the budget also is slightly lesser in that sense, and it's all different. We're basically taking off an existing budget, like the marketing budget, campaign budget, event budget. So we're basically taking off from that category lah. So I would say that is the difference. B2C kind of projects will have a turnaround about 2 months kind of thing. You deploy it, and habis cerita you bungkus and you're done lah, and you wait for the next one, and the cycle continues. Yeah, but for B2B it's a bit more longer lah. Yeah.
I'm gonna sound like as if I have an agenda here, but can I put in a hypothesis that the B2B brands, the projects that you do are a little bit less creative compared to the B2C ones, because you're dealing with subject matters that may sound boring, like medical, engineering, safety, compared to the B2C where you do campaigns to attract and wow people with what you can offer creatively. Or is it just my assumption there?
I would say that's a rule of thumb, lah. People will assume it that way, but again, it's how you define creativity. You will probably need to be creative in producing all these B2B items as well, because it's very much practical. I think you need to be creative in how you wanting to produce something that will last 3 to 4 years, but with a period of like 3 or 4 months development. You need to be creative in terms of creating something that will last longer, right? So in this sense, the creativity will fall more on that part of things rather than the art side. But I would say on the B2C side, yes, the art is really important. The visual art and the sound design has to be very engaging, because you only have this 30 seconds or 5 seconds to capture this person that's just walking past you. So that sort of attention span, you need to grab that. So there's a lot of priority put into that rather than the other one lah. Yeah.
Sorry, Fiza, again, I'm hijacking a lot of her questions, but I'm just going to pursue this a little bit more. but because I see a lot of these viral videos that go, if you recall, in Japan, they have this really nice corner billboards at the corner of buildings, and the latest one I saw was Darth Vader coming in and out, and it's as if it's a 3D kind of thing, and yeah, the creativity seems as if it's a lot higher when it comes to B2C, but what you're saying is that the B2B ones, they need a different type of creativity. In terms of the projects that you've handled, could you share with us different ends of the spectrum, something that you would say was super creative on the art side? What have you done before that you can share with us? And maybe another one that is creative in another interpretation, but just as creative.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we have this whole spectrum of things lah. Definitely. Tu rambut dah putih tu. So
I take it your avatar will not have the white hair lah.
I'll rub it off. I would say the much more I wouldn't say creative or tak creative lah. We try to make all our projects as creative as we can lah. But I would say the much more fun stuff, we have clients like bands, we have clients like graffiti artists to be our team member, right? So we have this artist that is actually collaborating and using the tech like AR and VR to reinterpret their work. So that would be the other side, where we would be a bit more in a lighter mood. The team will be much more lighter mood lah. One example that we did was we worked with this graffiti artist called Abdul Rashid, call him Achid. And we did a Raya campaign where he did a graffiti artwork on a car, on a Peugeot, right? And then when you come to the car, when you basically can scan a QR code, and it loads up your Instagram, and then you put out your camera to the car, and then this graffiti arts of his starting to move, right? They start to animate. So it gives a different dimension of his art, and then the car also looks very vibrant and stuff. So that would be a bit more on the fun side of the projects. So we have this, and also we work with Toppen Mall in JB. So looking at existing graffiti arts, it's already on the walls. So rather than creating a new art, why not we add another layer of interactivity on it? So there is one Kobe Bryant mural, and then what we do is when you scan it, then there's a hoop appears, and then you start playing a 3-pointer kind of shot. So that sort of interactivity that we try to push into an existing work lah. So that's the fun part. And the more serious part, we still have to be creative. I would say, for example, the VR for rehab is a very serious thing lah, because you're dealing with patients, right?
Question,
patient with
You're reading Nini's
Sorry?
question. Yeah, because Nini's question
Sorry, I just came in, but I'm wondering.
Yeah.
All right. Affordable for the third sector, like would be super interested in rehabilitation, for example, which can involve a lot of creative work too. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
you just jumped in straight into her question, whether that was coincidence or not, I don't know lah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nini.
That's how the stars align. So definitely, I mean, all of our work will have to involve creative work. Definitely, it has to look good. It has to look clear. When a user or a patient start to experience the VR, they should know what to do, right? So that involves creative work. We don't want to confuse people. So
can you explain this use case a little bit? Can you explain this use case a little bit in terms of using VR for rehab?
Right. So we have right now 3 modules that we use to cater almost like 80% of the cases for medical rehabilitation. So we have patients that has traumatic brain injury, stroke, that probably has some sort of inability to move some parts of their body. So VR has become sort of like another tool for them to actually use to sort of like do a physio activity, right? And the plus point is that this virtual environment is much more entertaining. You're not seeing your traditional treadmills or your ramps, your boring stuff that you have to see every day for the next few years if you have to go through this many years, right? So having it in VR allows you to actually see in a different perspective, but still do the essential stuff that you need to do to improve your state of your body, right? So we gamify the whole physio activity. So for instance, if you're working on the upper body part, upper limbs, and we in the VR world, we need to put something like a bell that you need to ring. So you basically lift up your hand to ring that bell, and if you ring it in a certain speed, and then you can compare with the speed that you had last time, so it shows improvements. So again the data collection side of things, so it can tabulate into a number that later on becomes a data that the facilitator can actually look into. So we have this series of these different activities that you need to do. Another example is there's one experience which it's a chicken coop where you have to collect eggs and put it in the basket, so that hand and eye coordination. So you see whether the patient has the ability to actually lift this virtual egg, and putting in the basket. And if the egg falls down, it pecah, it's not a real egg, it's a virtual egg. So it's real cost for your side lah. You don't need to buy a new egg lah, right? Okay. So that kind of thing, but it gives you that it's an egg. You have to be careful with it, right? So it kind of like have that similar real life feeling to it lah.
And you implemented this project for one of the medical facilities?
Yeah, so we work with UiTM, Faculty of Medicine in UiTM. Right. So we have deployed this in the faculty in Sungai Buloh lah. So currently we are still working on the patient testing period. So we will slowly have patients trying it out, getting feedbacks, and do fixes on the modules, and the cycle continues until we get the right number of patients and move on from there.
So this is the creativity you were talking about lah. I mean, the subject matter may be dry to some people, medical rehab, but how you design the whole experience is where the creativity needs to come, because it's not just for creativity's sake lah. It has to be something which has a real world benefit to the stakeholders, the patients, the doctors, etc. Can we put up Nini's question again, because there was the first part of it that I think we would like to see whether Fariz, you can answer that as well. How can you make AR and VR affordable for the third sector?
I'm not sure what third sector is,
affordable.
But
not sure what third sector is. but affordability.
Yeah, affordable. I think that's everyone's dilemma at the moment lah. But if you see the pattern, AR and VR has become very much affordable year to year. It has become cheaper and easier for us to enter. Given that the device is becoming cheaper, processing power is becoming much more powerful for these devices. I give you an example of AR. Usually, last time you need to have a certain device that can actually have a processing that captures the visual, which is the camera, and then do live processing, and then you have a screen to actually reflect back the AR element. But right now, phones are really very powerful. So AR actually lives off your phones, and that's where the most people will experience AR at the moment. And the next level will definitely be the glasses. We're still waiting for that trend to come in terms of the mainstream adoption, but not yet. But right now, everyone has their own phones, and I mean, if you look into Instagram AR, it's free, right? So if you find the right, face filters, those are actually AR. Right? You use your face filters every day, right? So those are actually AR. It's free, right? And we talk about VR in terms of VR headset. I think a few years back, you will need 6,000, 8,000 ringgit worth of VR headset, and then you need to have another machine that runs on a very heavy duty GPU that will cost you about 10,000 ringgit. So add in, you need to spend at least 16,000 ringgit to have a decent VR. But now, if you look at Oculus Quest 2, I think less than 2,000 ringgit, you can actually have a very good one. So you see the curve, it's coming down. I'm sure in the next few years, more of these devices are becoming much more faster and cheaper as well. So it's very good for content creators for us.
Hopefully cheap enough for the third sector, like Nini just shared with us, NGOs, charities, not-for-profits, social enterprises, etc., etc. I mean, these are the kind of things that at the end of the day, the whole social agenda is another chat that we can do for another 2 hours, 3 hours, and maybe we'll invite Nini for that one. But essentially, again, it goes back to the sponsors, the benefactors, the powers that be. I would imagine, in terms of how to make these things accessible. Fiza, do you wanna read out Dana's comment?
Is it like the people who work in these areas, AR and VR, require high creativity to assist in solving problems virtually? I'm imagining multiverse possibilities and finding what works.
Right. I think creative. I think everyone is creative. I think everyone is creative. It's just a matter of finding the use case. So if you're creative enough to understand there's a problem that can be solved with AR and VR, I mean that's already spot on. We just have to try and find the right people to execute it already. So that's a case where you identify a problem and come up with AR VR as a solution to solve that problem, rather than the AR VR and metaverse is sort of like a hype now. So I'm just gonna get into it and find problems along the way. So that is kind of like inverted thought process. So that one is sometimes you hit the bullseye, but sometimes most of the time you don't, right? So you end up wasting a lot of your time lah. So whether you're creative or not, I think identifying a problem, and if you can link AR and VR as a solution to that, I think so that you found the solution for that. So.
I believe you just debunked one of the major assumptions that a lot of people have been having, is that creativity means you are artsy, you're artistic. Whereas what you're saying, creativity is a lot to do with solving problems in a creative way, in a effective, practical, affordable, etc. way that is just as creative as being artsy, right?
True.
Exactly. So you heard that at Sembang Kreatif, guys. Okay, Fiza, time's running out. We're at 54 minutes. We've got 6 minutes to go. Do you have any more questions, Fiza, for Fariz before we let him go?
No, actually, my question has been answered in some question today.
Okay. So this gives me opportunity to hijack again. What are you looking forward to for the next? I don't know. I don't want to say 5 years. 5 years seems so long away from now. But I don't know. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. What are you looking forward to that it makes your bulu roma meremang kind of thing.
Gives
you goosebumps.
Yeah. Again, it's really hard to predict the future. But to me, the space that I'm in at the moment, we need to look into the future, right? So we need to be in the know. We need to actually read up trends that is incoming lah. So that's one of the things that I need to look into and get our team to be on board as fast as we can and try it out. And if it doesn't work, at least we go out early lah and try to figure out something else. So I would say in terms of how EDT, me and my company EDT works is that we are at the always do things at the early stage and try things out. So I would say the mentality that we have in our team is sort of like a mad scientist lab lah. So when we see something that is really cool out there, it got us inspired, and we discuss among the team: is this something that we can do, or can we experiment this here in Malaysia and see if it works? So we do not know whether it works until we really put it out on the field and try to test it out with friends and family and close friends and even clients that is crazy enough to believe in us. So that is a pool of people that I have around me lah, the crazy people lah. And whether to talk about a year, 2 years, 3 years, of course I cannot tell. I wouldn't be able to predict whatever I'm doing now here like a year before. You know, before the NFT came in, I wouldn't be talking about metaverses, right? So it all depends on this landscape, the environment that we're in, and see how we can maneuver the shit as fast as we can to make sure we're always relevant to the field that we're in lah. So that's what makes things fun lah in team. So we're not doing the same thing all over again and again and again lah. It's always new things there lah. But when it comes to the business side, that is always, you know, if I have a stakeholder that is waiting for an ROI, then you have a long list of things to answer lah. But I think that's really important. I think that I'm the type that is not so much sales driven, but more of finding new ways, introduce new ways of doing things. I think that's much more rewarding for me and the team. And if I would say, I wouldn't say money is not important lah, of course. Money is really important, but at a certain extent where we can still innovate, we will still be available. If I were to get my team into a new project out of the blue, I can still do that, right? Without knowing, having someone like, apa ROI benda ni nanti, you're going to spend 4 weeks on this, but you know who's going to bayar the gaji and all that. So I'm very fortunate to have my other partners to believe in me lah, to actually experiment with stuff. So that's the only way I innovate lah at the moment.
I'm gonna answer my own question and say that the one that gave me goosebumps was the virtual influencer project that you're working on. Really looking forward to have your virtual influencer make an appearance at Turbocharge.Live 2022. I'm going to make a direct plug to everybody listening. We got about 1 minute and a bit left. Do get your tickets for Turbocharge.Live. Where do you go? Just go to Turbocharge.Live. That's literally the name of the event and the URL as well. Fariz Hanapiah will be one of our special guest speakers, just like last year. And we're hoping to be able to share with everybody a lot more creative awesomeness from Fariz and EDT. Got 30 seconds to go. Fariz, any last things that you want to say before Fiza closes off?
I think it's just that It's been very exciting. I think the pandemic, although it's a really bad thing that happened around the world, but it kind of accelerated the vision of us in the digital world. So that opens up a new sort of playing field for everyone, and the presence of NFTs allows us digital creators to actually monetize our work without a middle person. But you have to do all the work by yourself lah, and make sure that you have you have to market yourself and all that. So I think the things that just happened for the past 2 years is really like very fast paced, and if you are able to keep on top of it, you'll definitely be the one who's going to benefit from these new technologies. So, yeah, thank you very much.